All right, we're back for another Friday financial wrap up with Mr. Michael Zuber. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing very well, man. I'm excited for what's coming the next couple of months. So it's all coming together like I thought it would.
I've got young kids, so you know why I'm excited? Today is 7-Eleven 2025. Do you know what 7-Eleven is?
No idea.
Free Slurpees at 7-Eleven.
I
I
did not.
just
Is that
realized it
really?
when I looked at the date.
Is that true? Every
It's a true
7-Eleven?
thing.
Wow, I had no idea.
If you go, I want to recommend. I've got young boys, I've got young kids,
Sure.
daughter too. If you go to 7-Eleven, go early because it is you would think it was the purge if you go after about 4 o'clock. Okay.
Oh my God. All
But
right.
anyway,
Good to know. Good to know. Go get your Slurpee, everybody.
get your Slurpee on 7-Eleven. Here we go. Let's get into the show. Delistings and cancellations. What happened? Talk about it. Let's break it down.
Yeah, so this was something I guess you could say I was theorizing, predicting a couple of months ago, was on the cusp, right? We had growing inventory and everybody was talking about it. I was highlighting the amount of wish pricing I was seeing in my multiple buy boxes. And I told people that very quickly we are going to see record levels of cancellations, delistings, and expireds. And at the time, people thought I was crazy. However, once again, we've been proven correct. Just this week, I think it was Realtor.com highlighted that delistings are up 47%. They are at the highest level since 2019. And again, this was part of my prediction that we would get through the summer months. Again, the summer months, meaning July and August, will be the depths of the depression in real estate. We will clean up the listings, and what we will be left with in September is an inventory of higher percentage of motivated sellers. What we're going to lose in July and August is the want to sell, the wish pricing, the people that have been on for 80 days and haven't had a showing in 30 days. And what we're going to be left with is more motivated sellers. Oh, by the way, if you believe what's going on in the market, and we've got rate cuts coming later this year, we might be seeing, inventory drop right into the teeth of rates going sub 6. And we should all know what happens after that. So again, I feel good about calling something early, calling something right. But again, this is just the taste of what's to come. I think the opportunity that's in front of investors today is frankly better than it's been in years, because for years we had to compete on speed and cash. Now we can write disrespectful offers. I'm hearing from people all over the country that are getting 20, 23, 28, even 31% off and getting great deals. And I look forward to that continuing. You don't want to wait. You don't want to wait for some crash bro to ring a bell, because A, they're not incented to ring any bell, and B, you don't want to do you guys remember the seller's market of 2021? Do you really want to compete in that environment again? Go get your deals, go write disrespectful offers, get seller credits, get, interest rate buy downs, get everything you can now. Because July and August, in a lot of the country might be the depths of the real estate depression. Obviously the Northeast is still hot. Some of the Midwest is still hot, but you've got to look at the country and realize that 70% of it is a buyer's market. So enjoy these last couple of months. They should be awesome. I'm getting ready to write more and more offers now, because I think Vegas is in that ripe spot to find motivated sellers. So we called it right. Delistings are up. We called it. But what's more important is not getting it right, but what happens next. And I've hopefully been very clear what happens next.
Spot on, Michael. And it's interesting to just comment on that. When I cut my teeth in the 90s, coming into this business, as when I became a real estate agent, the big draw, the biggest opportunity as an agent was to go after expired and canceled listings. That's the core of what Mike Ferry was teaching in the 90s. And so when we look at this, a lot of them are wish pricing. I know we're going to transition and talk about opportunity, but I think there's definitely a smaller percentage and an opportunity, which we're going to talk about the opportunity, where the agent commits malpractice because they don't follow up, they don't communicate, they get embarrassed because it's not selling. And the real answer is price reductions for the motivated sellers. Talk about opportunity, Michael.
That's what I want people to realize. Again, buyers markets don't last forever. And people need to realize when they come, you've got to be able to strike. And again, I want people to realize it's not, striking when, everybody else is out. You've got to be able to strike when no one else is looking, right? Again, it's really simple. Less competition, more supply, higher percentage of motivated sellers. And that's where the magic comes. Those circles don't come very often, but when they do and they kind of overlap, it's like that's your sweet spot. I'm never here to tell you it's easy. I just want people to realize it's possible. And that's the magic. I mean, if you're going to build wealth, you've just got to see it's possible. And again, as somebody who's done, a lot of content for a lot of years, I'm getting notes almost every day from, I get notes that say something like this, and they're in the comments, so people can go back and find them. I didn't think what you were telling me was real, but I took a shot and the seller said yes. I'm like, guys, I'm not telling you anything I haven't done 100 times. Right. It's a numbers game. And again, the money's made in the follow-up. It's not the first offer. I'm calling my plays on deals I'm writing up. And I'm telling you, I don't want the seller to say yes to my first answer, because my first answer isn't to write a $300K check. It's basically to walk them to a 50, 40, 10 where I can get in for 10% down, right? I'd much rather write a 30K check than a 300K check to buy an asset. So again, I'm willing to play the game. The game is chess. And, some people think it's checkers, and it's like, that's not what I'm trying to do. I don't need every yes answer. I just need one. I only want one a year. I'm so not in, growth mode. So, I just want to add one a year and, just prove people it's possible. So buyers markets don't last forever. This one, depending on where you are, maybe never shows up, right? If you're in the Northeast, you're saying, what the hell's a buyer's market? It's not here. But again, in 70% of the country, it's here. And it'll last different times in different places. I just think July and August are going to be the best of the best time to, write some stupid offers.
Strong, really strong. And it's interesting how you called it weeks and weeks ago, months ago, that this was going to unfold this way. And for the listener, for the viewer right now, what I hear you saying, Michael, is that if you're going to participate, now's the time to participate. Don't wait until September when you're hearing about it and it's in the rearview mirror and that opportunity and that door is shrinking. Is that accurate, Michael?
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, I think David Goggins said in one of his many videos, he always stays ready. I think there's a lot of people out there that have been conditioned to sit on the sidelines, eat bonbons and Cheetos, and someday I'm going to get ready. Right? That's not how it works, right? When you hear me talk, you talk about a buy box and daily discipline. It's at a minimum of 3 months of effort. For most people, it's 6 months. So if you're not doing it now and you hear some bell or you finally get it in September, you're screwed because you're not ready till April.
Yep.
So, do the work.
Do the work. I love it. Let's keep going. Let's talk about the Fed minutes. What's going on with the Fed?
Man, the Fed is all in a kerfuffle. We've got several Fed. So again, what happened this week? On Wednesday, I believe it was at 2:00 Eastern, they released what's called the Fed minutes. The Fed minutes basically summarize the Fed meeting from 6 weeks before. And this one was basically, a lot of dirty laundry. You had some Fed presidents saying quite clearly we should be cutting in July. No names are on it, but likely Michelle Bowman, likely Christopher Waller. And then you had several other Fed presidents basically saying, are you kidding me? We should have no cuts in 25. So we're starting to see the Fed not be in sync. Again, this last meeting, it was unanimous. Pause. I suspect going forward, it's very unlikely to be unanimous going forward. And, it's going to be about inflation. It's going to be about tariffs. And the Fed is must-see TV, I think, at this point.
Very interesting. Again, you've been talking about that the Fed was going to start to have this kind of chaotic, and then the shadow Fed and all of that. It's all playing out, and you can see the divide now where some are saying no cuts, some are saying no cuts, and it's clear that there's a divide. Time will tell. How do you see I know that your original calls, no cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that potentially there is going to be a cut?
Yeah. So again, I'm going to stick with my no cut in 25, just so people can hold me accountable. But if you were to ask me to predict a new prediction today, you've got to put at least one on the table. Is it September? Okay. Is it December? I will stay with my no cuts because I made it, at the beginning of the year just to see how it does. But it's certainly, I would say the odds of a cut are greater than no cut at this point. Although I'll stay on the no cut side just to be consistent. But yeah, I don't think the tariffs are going to be the inflationary shock that a lot of people see, although that could change. We'll talk more about that later. I think a lot of companies are absorbing it and producers are absorbing it. So, and oh, by the way, tariffs are on goods, and goods are only about 12% of our economy, right? Goods imports. So, there's only a small sliver of the economy that's even at risk from tariffs, which, people, think about our economy and think about all this stuff coming in that's going to be tariffed. It's actually only about 12% of the economy is goods imported. So, it's 1/8 of the economy. So it's probably a little bit less of an impact than the average person thinks.
We will keep an eye on it. I've got questions about 30-year mortgage. Folks, stay to the end, listen to the end. Also talking about how we see, if we do see sub 6, how it, the bond vigilantes coming back to the Fed. But let's keep going in the show notes. So tariffs, what happened this week? What's your take?
Yeah, so July 9th, obviously was this week. It was Wednesday. That was initially the 90-day pause. That has been pushed out to August 1st. Now we're getting what we can call tariff letters. Right? I don't know how many have gone out. Let's call it 20, 25, whatever it is. Plus, we're getting more tariff threats. I think just this morning, Canada was slapped with 35%. Brazil's been threatened with 50. Copper's been threatened with 50. Pharmaceuticals threatened with 200. A lot of our allies like South Korea and Japan hit with 40. So, you've got to step back and ask yourself, is this just more art of the deal and Trump's doing what he does and throws out a, ridiculously high number and hopes to negotiate down? Or is this really what he believes? At some point you got to step back and go, how long is this taco trade going to go? Right. Trump always gives up or whatever, or always quits or whatever it is. And, the market is clearly saying, the market has sniffed it out, right? If you look at the stock market at or near all-time highs, I think it's down this morning. They're basically saying tariffs, or, Trump's full of it. He's not going to execute these. However, if you know anything about Trump's playbook, he's already calling his shot about the stock market. And True Social, he's sending out things like NVIDIA is the first $4 trillion company, and the stock market this and the stock market that. That might give him some confidence to really go after this, because it's very clear that Trump believes that tariffs are the answer to the unfairness that he sees in the trade community. So I suspect that the market is discounting Trump a little bit too much. Do I think any of these, 40% on South Korea, Japan, 35% on Canada, 50 on Brazil, will those happen? Probably not. But will they get to 10% like the UK? And a lot of people are starting to think that 10% was the base case for everybody. And I think that's clearly not the case, because I think Vietnam got 20% in the one. So I think there might be a little, the market might be a little lackadaisical around this tariff threat. Because again, you got to remember, the reason Powell hasn't cut already is tariffs. And we have just spun up the tariff threat a lot in the last 7 days.
Okay. So
it's worth paying attention to.
So that ties back. It's interesting. That ties back to no cut.
Exactly. Oh yeah. If these tariffs stay, the 50, the 40, the 35, yeah, no cut's a genius call. Yeah. But again, Trump's, the track record is pretty clear as day, right? Throw out a crazy wild ass number, negotiate in, declare victory.
Act like a madman. Right. Yeah.
The market is sniffing it out. So.
Totally, mate. And it's interesting too, because that's not the headline anymore.
Right, exactly. They're like, oh, this is, we know where this is going. We're not getting yanked around again.
It's interesting that, well, of course, we're going to continue to keep an eye on all of it. So Sunday conversations, man, it's so good what you're doing in the school community. Talk about it.
Yeah. So one of the things, again, I love the school community. I give an hour up every Sunday that I'm not traveling. And it really started out with just me, right, going live. And then I started inviting friends. And I'm really going to start putting more focus on it. And I'm going to try to build out the calendar 6 to 8 weeks instead of right now I'm doing it, every Wednesday I go find somebody. So this Sunday, Cody Davis, right? The multimillionaire at 23 who started at 18 will be the Sunday conversation in school.
Say that
Join,
one more
ask
time.
questions.
Say that one more time so people really say it slowly.
Cody
Davis, who is how old?
23, multimillionaire, started investing at 18. I think owns 90 units after some consolidation and right sizing, as he calls it. He will be part of the conversation on Sunday at 8, and you won't want to miss it. If you have kids or teenagers, bring them along. There's nothing like seeing a 23-year-old who, by the way, is a decade younger than my daughter. That just tells you how old I am. And he's going to be just going to wow everybody. He just sees the world both so clearly and so fluently. I just love the way his brain works, and he will be part of that. Then the next Sunday, I'm still trying to line up my CPA, Bob Langworthy. After that, we might get Christian Osgood, who is Cody's partner, again, another young guy, although I think he's 31. And I'm just going to try to build out the calendar 6 to 7 weeks in advance, so it's not so ad hoc. And that way people who join school can see what's coming. So, I need to take it more serious. It's so much value that I should do a better job of planning it instead of reacting.
Folks, get involved with school. It's $20 a month. It's the best investment you'll make. You'll spend $20 in the next 90 minutes buying coffee or who knows, right? Whatever. It'll fall out of your pocket. Like literally, it's the best investment, $20. And the beauty is, Michael, what I love about what you're doing, it just came to me. It's like a podcast, but it's better than a podcast. And the reason why is because as a participant, as a member of school, you can get on, I can get on and ask questions, raise my hand and ask you a question. Hey, Michael, I'm looking at this deal. Here are the deal points. What would you do? Hey, Cody, like all of it. So you get to interact with your millionaire experts and all the great guests you have.
Yeah. And I'm giving you access to people that most of you can't get, right? I had Thatch on the other day and, Derek, the ADU guy, and the list goes on and on. I'm lucky enough to have a reputation in history where a lot of these people will say yes and say yes very quickly. And again, if you're in school, you can raise your hand and ask them questions. Maybe your only time to ever ask Thatch a question or Ty a question or Jason a question. And it's a lot of fun for me to do that for you. So I'm gonna take it more seriously and build out the calendar a little longer into the future.
I love it. Let's keep going. Ken McElroy, man, what a great interview. Talk about Ken.
Yeah, Ken McElroy's been on the show a couple of times in the last 4 weeks. This one was just a solo discussion, and you should go back and check it out because he's really talking about tremendous wealth building opportunity. And what I really say here is he kind of validated what I've shared with my audience, that I think Class A multifamily is already retrading at a 20 to 25% discount. Ken agreed. But more importantly, he says the real pain, the real loss, the GPs and LPs who did their folks dirty, that pain is coming and coming quickly. Ken thought we were in the third inning and that we might have upwards of 2 years of pain ahead, which again, I say pain ahead, knowing that I'm not involved in any of these deals. So flip the coin over, opportunity.
Yeah.
There's tremendous opportunity coming. Unfortunately, there will be millions and millions of dollars lost. But those, as I said years ago, those deals were lost in 2022. They're just going to be recognized in 2025 and 2026. So, It made me feel really good to hear Ken, go on a long discussion and net it out. It's like, I'm on to something in Class B and Class C. The value's got a crater. We're talking 50%, 50. So, we're in the third inning of that correction. I'm getting ready.
So good. I watched the interview. Thank you. What a great interview. It was like being in the room with you guys, like a casual, and breaking it down and the opportunity. And I love, Michael, you said that. I remember you were kind of like a little sad and I go, what's going on? And you're like, dude, in this cycle that we're in the real estate market, I know there are people that are wiring money in on LP, on the limited partner side, putting money into syndication deals, that money that was lost. And you were calling this 18 months ago. Yeah.
Years ago. I actually brought up a video that I did with Jonathan Twomley, where I turned a $100 million building into a $45 million building.
Yep.
That video is 3 years old.
Yep.
And I told people that was coming, and
Yep.
it's happening right now. And it's like, I'm sorry. I tried to warn you.
The big thing too that I said when you were like, hey, I'm interviewing Kim McElroy today, and I was like, hey, ask him, has it already happened or is it coming? And then he broke down. It happened in A, but the push down on B's and C's and D's is what we'll see next. And to know that we're in the third inning means there's a lot of opportunity coming here. So we'll talk about that more. Let's talk about Delta Airlines.
Yeah. So one of the things that I called correctly again 3-4 months ago after Liberation Day was that uncertainty was ramping quickly. And again, what that means for most of us is just consumers sat on their wallets. And then about 3 weeks ago, I said, I think the uncertainty is lifting. We've had peak uncertainty. And Delta Airlines just had an earnings report, I think 24, maybe 48 hours ago. That was really the first clear sign that some consumers, if not many consumers, are starting to spend again, right? It's an early indication. And what did Delta Airlines say? First and foremost, they beat earnings and they did all that stuff. But more importantly, future bookings had rebounded. And then, of course, you saw United Airlines and other airlines kind of rebound if you're watching the market or the stocks. But again, I'm looking for consumer information. And if Delta Airlines is telling us that travel is not necessarily back, but rebounding, that's a sign that uncertainty is clearing.
Yep.
And again, I've told you for years that consumers can act scared for 6 months and then they come out of that and they go, screw it. I got to live my life. Delta Airlines was another example that is happening and happening quickly.
Yeah. It's, you've been calling it the consumer, man. And it feels like even multi-offers on, a property that I said this week, multi-offers on a property where normally it would have been flat. Average days are like 45 days in this neighborhood. And now you're starting to see the consumers come back. Talk about earnings season.
Uncertainty is clearing. Yeah. Earnings season is going to be a really interesting one. If you look back over the last 90 days, most companies took the opportunity after Liberation Day to reset expectations. So, we'll see what happens. The big banks start reporting next week, but it looks like, Q2 earnings, which is what's going to be reported here over the next month or so, probably going to look pretty good on paper because a lot of people took the opportunity and the noise and the chaos to lower expectations, and they're going to get over them in street shoes. And, we've already got the market at or near all-time highs. And, the market is a connection of earnings plus a multiple plus future expectations. So, we've got a consumer that is uncertainty is clearing. We've got, a lot. I mean, think about what the market has endured over the last 4 or 5 years: a pandemic, World War III, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Hamas, just all of these things, one after another. And, to be at or near all-time highs into what could be a growing economy in the second half, could get interesting. So I think earnings, generally speaking, are probably going to be pretty solid because everybody took them down last time.
From uncertainty to moving towards stable and maybe certainty.
There you go.
We'll see. Let's talk about wealth builders.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm getting really, really comfortable at, because again, I tried to grow YouTube with some consulting from Graham Stephan and some other creators, and I went one direction. It wasn't who I was, and what I realized is I am not growing a YouTube channel. I'm not doing that. So all the measurements and the stats from all the YouTube creators don't fit my model. What I'm trying to build is a community, and just by understanding that difference, I feel so much better because communities don't grow fast. Communities don't grow fast, but they're sticky and they grow with purpose. So I'm getting very comfortable with the notion and shout out my mom. My mom told me this like 6 years ago and I just didn't believe her. And she's like, Michael, you're helping people build wealth. I'm like, I don't think I'm doing that. I mean, Mom, don't put that on me. I don't want that on me. And she's like, no, that's what you're doing. And it's only, I mean, moms are usually right. So shout out Dorothy. But I'm only recently got comfortable with that. It was really after this experiment of going down the doom and crash and all that nonsense and realizing that if you want to grow fast, that's the way to do it, right? Got an extra 110,000 views, thousands of dollars, but the audience I attracted are not who I want. I don't want people who've already given up.
Right.
I don't want all that. No, I don't want to be around losers and people who have already quit. I like, get away from me, right? I want to be around people who believe, who are working. And to me, that's a wealth builder. And again, to be a wealth builder, you don't have to be wealthy. I mean, nobody starts wealthy, right? A lot of people start with negative net worth, but you believe it's possible.
Yeah.
So I'm getting very comfortable saying that we are a community of wealth builders. And my YouTube channel is free. If you want to get part of the ultimate community, it's $20 a month. But yeah, you could stay right here on YouTube. You get 3 videos a day, 7 days a week. And I am totally okay with that. So I'm getting more comfortable in my own skin, I guess.
Wealth building, baby. That's who you are. That's what you do. I also want to say, by the way, moms are always right.
Yes, exactly.
Just so you know, especially your mom and my mom.
Yes. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
So one of the things that with the wealth building, and I want to say that's impressive, is that 2 years in a row you've had your event, and it was almost like 90% the exact same people that came back the second year.
Yeah, I think the actual number was 70% return. Yeah.
70%? Okay. Yeah. And so the difference
is crazy.
It's not like you're looking for a new audience to sell more stuff or to come on and come and go and get what they, come and take what they need.
Yeah. It also means they got value the first time.
Yes. So strong. I know you got to go. A couple of really important questions if the Fed does cut, that doesn't necessarily transition. Do you think, how does the bond market, if the Fed does cut?
Well, I think what you're really asking me is mortgage rates. That's what
30-year mortgage. Yeah.
I suspect that mortgage rates by the end of the year, and again, we only got 6 months left, probably bottom out at 6.3, 6.4. However, 2026 summer, so if you want to look out 12 months, I wouldn't. You could get that magic 5.99. You really could.
Okay.
You could go sub 6 if you look out a year. I don't think you get sub 6 in 6 months though.
At 5.99, 2026, do we hit 5 million transactions plus for national transactions?
Oh, again, I'm somebody who has studied history, and the history would say no.
4.5.
Yeah, we could go to 4.5. Yeah.
Are we going to be sub 4 million? For
no.
2025?
Oh, for 2025? Yeah, I'm still calling that. I like to stay with my calls all year. I think there's a really good chance we go sub 4. Given where rates are going at the end of the year, we may sneak over it because, again, I think the fall will be better than most people think, but it's going to be close. It'll be close enough to say I was right.
So 4 million, sub 4 million, 4 million in a few fractions.
Yeah, it'll be, let's call it 4. Market. Yeah, this market, because again, as the market turns, as soon as we get to November, a lot of those transactions that go pending will be 2026 business.
Correct.
Right. So we don't have very many months left for 25 business when you look at it that way.
So strong. Michael Zuber, as always, thank you for all the work you do. Dude, have a great weekend.
Take care, brother.